Looks like we're live now, though. I'm really, really thankful to be here with you today. I'm excited for folks to come on in. Um, uh, it's a good day. It's a good day to be a writer. It's a good day to be a listener.
Mm.
Earlier today, you were talking with some folks, and we all agreed that listening is the prerequisite for writing.
Oh, yeah, of
You know
course.
how to listen. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let my body decompress for a second while we let folks come in. Decompress if you need to, my friends, because this is a place where I think it's important to acknowledge I haven't gone publicly before. I think
Mm.
uh kind of the intersection of neurodivergence and writing, um, it's just a space that hasn't felt like mine to step into yet. And I feel like
Mm.
from getting to know you and our work together,
Mhm.
it kind of created a magical container, wink, wink, to, like, kind of see.
Genuinely.
Yeah, like, genuinely, yeah, to examine where maybe the broader subset community could benefit from considering, what are we doing to our writing when we're inside a good container versus an unsupportive one? I don't wanna say bad, but, like, what does
Yeah.
that look like? So I'm excited to welcome folks in. I know how the interwebs kind of flow, and bring folks in over time. But we're glad to see you here and talk to you today about containers. And I think I would be really surprised if most people who are tuning in haven't read The Artist's Way or,
Mm.
kind of studied like the concept. I think it was popularized by Julia Cameron that the first, what is it? The first rule of magic is containment.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, and I've seen that be true in my life,
Mhm.
and I think if you're neurodivergent, or I would even say if you just have trauma in your background, that containers become something else.
Mm.
Um, and that's what we wanna explore today is what does it look like to have a container that works for you?
Mm.
Um, because I feel like, I've been in this for 20 years now. Sometimes I wanna calculate the times that I was writing poetry when I was 9. So, like, I wanna, like, go all the way back and be like, "No, it's been 30 years I'm a writer." But, I feel like there's a mark where people are like, "When did you work with adults on this?" And so I'll say 20 years.
Mm. Mhm. I think the stuff in childhood counts. I think that timeline is accurate and compassionate, and I
Yeah. It's the same muscle. I will say that, like, it feels like the same muscle that I was squeezing. I feel like writers know what that muscle is, like, if it was there for you at a young age. So I I think that's some context where we wanna explore today is what does it look like to have a container that works for you? Um, and I think the idea of container maybe would be helpful, like, what do you see in your mind's eye when you think of container? Is it the journal and the pen? Is it the room you're in? Is it the like, how would you define that? So
Mm.
let's start there.
That's a good question because I have this very, like, my sun and moon are both in Taurus, and so there's a part of me that's like, it's palpable, it's physical, it's the desk, it's the paper, is like, it's the textures, it's the room. But there is this other piece of this work that is like kind of resists language and is a little more metaphorical and it's energetic. It's like the emotional container, right? I think when we're talking about like attunement, it's like the boundaries of attunement, and that can be we can attune to ourselves, we can attune in, like, a one-on-one situation, we can attune and, like, hold space in a room, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, holding space, right? Holding space with and for other people, and I do just think it's this strange magical thing that is both literal and more than literal. It's just both.
Yeah, I really I really like that because it sounds like a thing that squeezes you a little bit, and maybe, like,
Mhm.
the right squeeze is what counts,
Like,
um,
that
'cause I don't know why I'm seeing a picture of, like, a tube of toothpaste. What like, what's the purpose of the container? Is it to get something to move through you? Is it to get
yeah,
something out? Is it to get something what like, why do we need the container?
yeah, and I think it's, like, in that sense, it's, like, generative. Like,
Mm,
it's part of why I generally do like prompts, like writing prompts, even when they're shitty, because they just can create friction in a way that, like, moves you. Because it's
mhm.
movement too to be like, "Oh, this sucks. I wish they'd asked this question differently," and then you go in a different direction. Like, it's sort of like the difference between floating in outer space and having nothing to push off of. And so how do you create momentum? And I have this feeling, hopefully I'm not opening a can of worms here, but I do have this feeling that, like, neurodivergent people kind of need that, like, prompting and cueing a little bit more. Like, I don't know if it's, like, a struggle with initiation or task transition. I don't know. I don't know that I can, like, academically argue why I think that's true, but I just think it's true. I think we sometimes need the space in which to then push and resist or initiate. Like, it's generative.
So, we approach containers because we're trying to create something in response. So, like, a
Mhm.
container ultimately creates something.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like there's, like, the counter container inside production environments where,
Mhm.
like, everything is laid out exactly as it ought
Mhm.
to go. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of my early career was spent inside exactly this way, this order, and don't get me wrong, we published some beautiful books. There is an art to organizing people around you that needs a container, and I think a big part of my work on Substack has been to figure out, like, where does that container belong in production, and when, like, does my inner container, the creative container, need something completely different? Because I feel like it's easy to assume, like, well, they're doing it that way, so I should always do it that way, and,
Yeah.
then you don't end up not liking what you generate. So,
Yeah.
um, I feel like one of the gifts of being diagnosed as autistic was realizing that, oh, I was looking at those containers built for certain circumstances,
Mhm.
and they were always going to sort of send me into a brick wall. Like they
Mhm.
were kind of designed to do that, because of how my brain works with, like you said, like a shitty prompt.
Mm.
Um, I I don't think I actually realized a good writing prompt for a neurodivergent person, well, for me, let's say that.
Mhm.
I don't wanna speak for would never do that. Um, was realizing that I was looking at a lot of neurotypical writing prompts that assume you already know and want to do a hero's journey story. Does that have you ever encountered that of, like, there's, like, layers of assumptions inside this container that they're making authentically, like, I don't think I've encountered someone who writes writing prompts to be nefarious,
Right.
um, but I feel like there was a lot of social context inside writing prompts that created containers that I was just like, "I don't know what to do with this."
Yes. That and a lot of the, like, traditional stuff is just based on really a more neurotypical way of moving through the world, a really, ideal conditions. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know, I talk to a lot of other writers and creative humans who, like, spent a lot of time feeling really shitty about themselves because they couldn't make in the way that they thought they were supposed to be making, right? They were taking, like, a container, set of advice, set of expectations that is, like, presented as ideal, right? You write every day, your consistency and discipline are, like, the thing, right? Like, I hate those words. Like, just, when we move through this world, neurodivergent or not, when we move through this world in any way that diverges with the, like, status quo, like, capital S success version of what it looks like to be a writer and a creative human, like, I think a lot of us end up using that data to like beat ourselves up and say, "Oh, I can't make in that way. Something must be wrong with me." And we run into this wall that I think doesn't have to be there. I think we can actually like create and enter a different kind of container. We can create a different framework for how we make and how we measure our effort.
Yeah, I don't know about you, I'm having this flashback to so you remember NaNoWriMo or whatever it was. When I first started kind of thinking about I generally don't like big, giant, fancy, everybody's doing it kind of things, very neurodivergent of me. Um, but I was curious about it, and I brought a very, I tried to be very open-minded, and I looked at it, and I looked at the structure, and I literally felt like jumping off of a chair and telling it, "You will never make me sit down every day." And I felt that energy come through, and I just went, "What is wrong with you, woman?" These people are just creating a contain like, I understand the concept, and I just wanna acknowledge that, like, for me, that bodily response was actually a clue that I wouldn't unlock until a few years later of, like, how real voice comes through me.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, it's easy to look at those and be like, "Oh, everybody's writing their books. They're doing incredible work. Why can't I?"
Yeah.
Um, but I think I also had experience. I don't know if you've experienced this where, like, you do the thing and then you read what's on the page and you go, "Meh." You're like, "Lord, that's not me. I would never submit that. What's coming out?" So, uh,
Yeah. What a blessing to have those moments where you recognize that's not me. Like, thank God we
yes,
sometimes notice that.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I also think what's coming up for me here is like I do think our our common image of what it looks like to be a writer is a very like academic intellectual image, and it is
Mhm,
one where we're not supposed to care about our bodily responses because that's not craft, right? There's this like really false binary, and I don't think it's necessarily like said in these words, but I do think it's everywhere, and once you start to look for it you see it everywhere. There's this sense that there's like craft, and then there's like all the other stuff. There's how I feel about what I'm making. There's my divergence or my mental health needs. There's the emotions and the tenderness and my memories and my lived experience and all the things that make me this like well-rounded person. And there's this sense that all that stuff is like at odds with craft. If you really want to develop your craft and be a good writer, good, we could talk about good for the next hour. Like, what does that even mean? Right. But there's this sense that craft is at odds with all of those things. I think we are, like, conditioned to not listen to those bodily responses. I think we are conditioned to override them, and I think genuinely it is not only a disservice to us, just as, like, tender humans who, like, wanna have a positive, joyful relationship to our creativity, but I actually think it's, like, not that great for the writing either. I don't think it makes better writing. I think when we are, like, feeling safe in our bodies and not bypassing our intuition or bypassing the data that our nervous system is giving us, that helps us feel safer. That helps us take more risks. That helps us stay with a hard thought longer. Like I think all of this stuff is about caring about craft too. It's just not caring about it at the expense of all this other stuff.
mhm. Yeah, I feel like craft I feel like craft gets this, like I think you're right that we put it into, like, this sort of elevated box that, like, the craft that matters is a craft that screams loudest and gets the most attention and, like,
Mm,
serves a purpose and functionality, and the reality is that, like, the thing let's say best-selling book, right? A best-selling book, we hold it up as the emblem of craft,
mm,
yet we don't know all of the things that it actually took that look nothing like craft to get
mhm,
it into that final form, and I feel like that's where containers come into play. Like, how many containers build around an author in order to just get that book out the door? Like, we don't see that. We just see, "Oh, well, they wrote it, and I could never do that. So I'm I wanted when we kinda talked beforehand, we talked about, like, well, what is it how do we have proof that a container is working?
Mm,
Like, how do we have proof? I think one of them is your body's not literally wanting to jump out of the chair.
yeah,
But, sometimes it is the quality, the texture and the quality and um, I think even creative courage. Like, you suddenly
yeah,
find, like, I'm not afraid of trying this new thing because it's not under so much pressure.
yeah.
Um, I'm I know we sent out a couple of emails about what this piece would look like, this our conversation would sort of explore. Um, when I was thinking about containers, I was thinking about, this writing that came up for me last year when I did something I don't normally do. I really love Jamie Attenberg's Thousand Words of Summer. I love the spirit behind it. She donates everything. She's just organizing these rich voices. Um, and I decided to do it last year in the worst possible, like not worst. Uh, they were trying times, my friend.
Yeah.
Um, and For all intents and purposes, I should not have been doing a challenge. I should have been storing away my energy. I was in the process of leaving my marriage. I had a 3-year-old daughter. We were in a situation where, like, to enter a creative container would have been frivolous if you had written it down on paper, like, absolutely frivolous. And yet, I did it. I did it. I didn't complete it because I it was a frivolous. It was a very stressful time. Um, but the container with which that space kind of ushered me in was striking. It was striking what I was able to hear, even under, like I said, absolute just not great circumstances. Um, I was not floating on clouds. I was not, having grapes dropped in my mouth while I wrote. Um, and I want to give you an idea because I think this happens a lot for folks inside their public. If you have public facing work,
Mm,
what's going out into the public sounds a certain way, but then you can have these experiences inside a container that just kind of make you go, "What?" So I pulled this up. Oh, I pulled up beforehand. So let me give you an idea of what I was writing. So this time last year, I was still publishing. I was writing on the publishing spectrum. Let me go down to where I was last June. I was trying this thing where I was trying to give people a way to audit their own data.
mm,
Um, and so I was trying to kind of tackle this technical horse in my head, right?
mm,
Um, and let me see. Back in June of 2025, here's just an example. I was talking about trust-based audiences. So I was writing about that. So trust-based audiences, what trust feels like on Substack. I was organizing. I'd done a couple of things around writing seasons. I was organizing that. And then, something about, like, I wrote about the 30-90 rule. So these are all very technical, like,
mm,
technical things, like, my voice is harnessed in and my brain is being harnessed, right, in this very specific direction in service of my readers, in service of this work, that I've been doing on my publication.
mm.
Enter said journal that was sat on my lap, and I'm gonna read some. I hope that's okay with y'all. I think I gave everybody a heads up that you're gonna be hearing raw writing, um, as an as an example of what can happen when you put yourself into a different container.
Mm, mhm,
Because sometimes it can surprise you,
mm,
when you do something frivolous
mm.
like this.
Frivolous.
Frivolous. Um, yeah, so this is dated, June 1st, 2025. I'll stop when it feels right.
Yeah, trust yourself.
Um, the birds the birds, what can I tell you about them? I can tell you it took a long time to recognize they were around. I had a hunch that I understood or perceived things differently from others. When I was 7, I asked my father, how could I hear God's voice? And do I think he planted a certain posture in me? He said God's voice isn't out loud voice, but more like a quiet whisper. The best way to hear is to listen. This answer, I remember exactly where I was, a long hallway in our church on the second floor, the crushed burgundy carpet, the rows of doors to Sunday school classrooms. My favorite room was the one with a hole in it for the projector to sit in and cast the morning worship songs onto a screen in the sanctuary. I loved being able to see everyone's heads. I loved how quiet that room was. It also had a large glass window so the engineer or volunteer could make sure the words were projecting accurately. I think birds are always listening too. I remember the first dream I had of being like a bird, of flying high in the sky above everyone on the ground. The feeling of weightlessness and freedom. I can still feel the air moving through my chest and under my arm wings. I've always wanted to be in flight, to soar above. I do wonder if that's an analogy for something deeper. What else do birds get to do? I used to worry about their nests getting wet. What do the mommy birds do when the rain is falling on their baby's head? Do they sit, plop down on them like when they were incubating in their eggs? Do they spread their wings like a love blanket? In church, we talked about how if God cares for the sparrow, then how much more does God care for you? And after a lot of years of reflection, I'm not sure I appreciate the dig at sparrows. Why wouldn't God care about their lives too? They have minds, they make music, they have beating hearts, so much active life to share. I almost wonder how the Bible would be different if women had written it instead.
Amanda! I just wanna, like, yell. How are you feeling right now? Can I just ask you that, if that feels articulatable? Mm.
Think I'm thinking, I'm thinking about the readers who would poke me about, um, letting little bits of this kind of writing come through while I was trying to do the organized thing, the thing that truly did come from me from a good place in my publication. Um, and they would say, "I wanna hear about the bird chirp," 'cause I'd let it pass and I'd let it come in passing and move on.
Mm.
And maybe maybe that's what gun container is for. It's to grab you and pin you down. In this case, life was pinning me down. Um, but I'm just feeling so relieved that I've just read it out loud. There's so much more. There's pages and pages about birds and listening and writing. Um, and I have to write that, and I think this is probably I think I just realized that I have a container of my own, where I basically was trying to commit myself in some public way to publishing this in the co-writing studio. Um, because that voice needs a place to go that serves people in the right way and serves me as, like, not living inside this, I get very nervous about it being on paper, and not having, like, a fireproof box around it, like, I need to um, but yeah, I feel like sometimes containers help. In that case, I felt like there was, like, a mother helping a young girl talk about all the
Mhm.
questions she had,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then the mother would kind of translate, and I think that happens a lot in my writing and in my mind, um, is there's an inner translation back and forth when I'm in the right when I get into I would say right container. It was it was appropriate. was well
Yeah.
timed.
Yeah, yeah. What else do birds get to do might be if I had to pick a favorite question and a favorite line from your piece, I think that's it. What else do birds get to do? It's such a good question. I'm also just interested in, like, what what has changed for you having let that be said out loud, having let me receive it and everyone else listening receive it, and, like, this, something energetic happened. Like, I don't care if I don't know how to explain it scientifically, like, something energetic happened. I felt it in my
Yeah.
body, I felt it in my eyes, I felt it in the impulses I had to, like, write down things you were saying. I feel it now in the impulse to say, like, "Yes, keep going." I feel it now in the impulse to say, like, "Will you read the rest of your pages out loud to me?" Like, there's a thing here. Like, what is
Yeah.
that thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I had, and I'll link to this later. I had a wonderful conversation with my meditation teacher, Susan Piver, and I think I could go back and look at it, and I could see just the moment where we were both opening something that
Mm,
neither one of us were responsible for. And I
mm,
feel like this is writing that's not the way she said it was that she knows when something has come that has nothing to do with her, but could not exist without her. And I feel like in this place, like the way that the rest of the writing kind of flows is there's a lot about like how to hear for your voice, the one voice that you have to give to the world. That's all woven in there, and that like all my best thinky thoughts could have never done that. Like all my best academic sort of mm, it it just comes through. And so I just feel like something just kind of like washed through me in some ways. Because I think I let it come. I think when we speak out loud, I think that helps. Something just came to life. Something just transmitted. You're on the West Coast, I'm in Dallas. Something just transmitted, even though we are not together in the same
yeah.
physical space.
Yeah. I'm having this flashback. I you know this, every month I host a workshop for, like, paying readers of my Substack for the birds, and in our workshop, I think it was just last month, we kind of went on a tangent at the end and we're talking about sharing our work out loud with people, and someone said this beautiful thing about, like, it's it's, like, so necessary to share our work sometimes, but not because of the response, because of, like, the having shared it. There is, like, an energetic thing, a thing that happens when you, like, let your work live in this shared way. And again, I think we have these very, like, academic, very, like, publishing-oriented ideas about what that is supposed to look like, that sharing our work means it's been published, it's been externally validated, it's polished in a very particular way. But, like, I don't know, I'm so much more interested in, like, what just happened here, which has nothing to do with, like, well, were your sentences good? And is it gonna get
Yeah.
published in the Paris Review? Is
Yeah.
it like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like, all of that is fine and well, but, like, it doesn't account for this other thing, this, like, letting the thing that you've made live in this way that I think, yeah, that involves, like, being witnessed, like the other people, whether it's one person or a group of people, like, being present for it.
Keep hearing this line in my head, like, is giving birth to it enough? Is
Mm.
it enough to give birth to your voice? And that's a question I think I ask all the time. Is it enough?
Mm.
And it's probably subconsciously woven into like how I decide what goes out and what stays in
Mm.
and what's kind of scheduled and what's spontaneous. But like sometimes I really do sense that like um I wrote this, it was in a hard season. I did not have any brain cells left to, you know, organize it into an essay series and yada yada. But like but I also felt like just let me be alive in the world.
Mm,
Like, let me get used to the atmosphere. And I do think there's something about, like, atmospheric acclimation. I just
mm,
made that up.
mhm.
That, like, creativity needs and voice needs.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think there's something about, um there was a lot of constraints on me, which I think, um and we were gonna talk about, like, what makes a container work. What
Mm,
worked here is that I think the structure of 1,000 words is actually very wide open, and
mhm,
it's as engaging or not engaging as you want. Um, it felt playful, so
mm,
I felt like I could be kind of messy and swampy and single mommy and all these things. Um, and it gave me just one thing, like, I'm gonna try to get to 3 handwritten pages, and guess she said it was, like, about 1,000, 3 handwritten pages, about 1,000 words if you're using whatever.
mm.
Um, and I feel like it's important to mention here that, like, if we compare that to the container of where I lived for 4 years on the side of a mountain in, like, picture perfect forest majesty, and my voice was never more quiet and unreachable. Doesn't mean I wasn't trying to reach, but everything that should have lined up perfectly for me to be Amanda Ryder.
Yeah.
It I think something else changed me. I certainly think things digest when we're in places like that and in hard, kind of isolated seasons, um, but I just, it was waiting to give birth later when
Mm,
I use
mm.
that. So,
Ah,
um, if you're waiting for things to get exactly perfect, I think that can make the writing nervous.
mm, mhm.
'Cause it might need to come out a little gobbledygookey for a while. I still have
Mhm.
stuff come out. I don't write like that all the time, but I think that's important to say. I don't write like that all the time. Like, I have a lot of shitty first drafts. This was a very particular container where the draft came out with a certain poet's voice that I'm
Yeah.
trying to access more these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I don't know about you, but, like, whenever something works really well, especially as a neurodivergent person, I'm like, "Can I hold that forever? Make
Mm,
that happen forever?" Like, a little clingy, a little obsessive, and a little, um, and I feel like part of part of containers is learning to let them go when they're done.
yeah.
What else do you think, like, makes a good container?
I mean, the big thing I'm thinking here is that it is not this permanent thing, but it is a living thing that responds
Mhm.
to season
Mhm.
of your life and your needs. And like I do, you know, I see that in like the mentorship work I do with people where it's like we have a format that's working for a season and then we let the space and the relationship between us change and pivot. Like, I don't know, something popping into my mind is like I was working for like actually multiple years with a client who came to me and was like, she'd been trying to write a book. She'd been trying for like 2 years on her own. She couldn't do it. So she came to me. We started working together. She started writing her book. She was making like beautiful progress on it, wrote a ton of pages, and then just like wanted to like set it down and write poetry for the first time in her life ever. And we just like followed that and started having these kind of situations too, where like one day, kind of on a whim, I asked her to read a poem out loud. And she was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I could do that." And then she did, and it became this like beautiful kind of transformational thing that then became a part of like every session. We'd meet for an hour. We'd always spend 10 minutes just like her reading some work out loud. And we just like followed that for a while. And that's what her creativity was needing. That's what her voice was needing. That's what the book was needing. Like, I think I'm sharing this story to try to get at this thing of like, sometimes the thing that we're needing is not the thing we think we're needing. And it shows up in this other surprising way, and we can follow that And yeah, that these containers that we're in, for them to be good and healthy and safe and encouraging, they should be these like living things that respond to the moment and the need and are personalized and adjust. Yeah, it's a living ecosystem more than like a box with glass over it, you know?
As you were talking, I was thinking about the nature of, like, being told to niche down on Substack.
Mm, mhm.
That comes up in my work a lot, and it's always sort of curious because I think there's, like, an underlying there's, like, this little thread of wisdom in what I think they're trying to point to, which is that readers need some sense of something that's familiar
Yeah,
that they can rely on and not be surprised by,
sure.
and or caught off guard, let's say that. I think surprise is good in how you publish on Substack, but,
Mm,
um, if the work is moving through you organically, your publication's going and should work in that way, and I
yeah,
think of the parallels of, like, when I was an editor and doing assignments, like, I was trusting the reporter to see what was on the ground and report back, "The story's now this. This just
mhm,
happened, this just happened," and I think creative writers do that exact same thing, but if they're told, like, "No, you committed to this one story," there just becomes the wrong container, the wrong voice, right? And so I just wanna acknowledge that, like, if that there's a lot of parallels between trying to build a body of work online and feeling like, why isn't the real thing coming through? It could be your structure. It could be this sense that, like, you have to niche down, but at
yeah,
what cost? At what cost? And I can say from experience that, like, the structure found me, not
mm,
the other way around. Like, I found it's organizing around me in response to, like, relational needs and the shifting inside the platform rather than, like, I'm gonna niche down, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna content marketing 101, those are containers that I have found that do
mhm,
not work, and I'm going a little off on a rabbit trail here, but I just feel like exactly what you just described, like, being allowed to read your work first,
mm,
start writing, and then discover, "Oh, no, it's poetry, it's coming next."
mm,
Like, that is what I want most for anybody who's who's publishing on Substack is to have that relationship with their work that it can go through several iterations and structures and changes, because whatever comes out at the end that's alive that's glad to be alive, that's what I mean, that's what my editor's ear is looking for, is, like, the piece that's glad to be alive in the world is the thing readers are looking for. I can see
yeah.
your brain's turning.
Yes, you can see it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's like it's sort of like, I mean, I understand why, like, having a brand is, like, a really comforting thing. It's also, like, seductive, it's permanent, it's, like, stable, right? I want all those things, but, like, I think when we care about our, like, creative brand or our writerly brand more than we care about our voice, which is an inherently more dynamic and changing thing, that's when I think we get into trouble. And just to validate this, because I didn't really realize until this moment how often I hear this from people. I hear from a lot of people this fear of like, "Oh, am I too all over the place? I'm writing about this, now I'm writing about this." Like, that's actually, like, a pretty common fear, and what I've found, and again, I'm usually doing this in the space of like an intimate one-on-one thing where I'm like reading someone's writing with them and like learning
Yeah.
their voice. Um, there's always threads. There's always like part of the beautiful work I think of also developing your creative writing voice is like having readers who can help you notice, well, yeah, you're talking about like, I don't know, I'm bad at pulling things out of there. Rabbits over here and like Legos over here and duct tape over here. But actually, like if we look at all your sentences and look at the quality of attention and the way your mind moves when you're talking about these things, we can like tease out what those deeper threads are and like become aware of not your brand. I hate that word, but like what is the thing? What are some of the threads that show up everywhere? And then once you become aware of that, I think you can, like, use that to your benefit, you know, and have that, like, clarity about a deeper writerly purpose within you, but then you can go in, like, so many different directions with it, you know?
Yeah. I really like that example because I think people coming from a traditional editorial background, there was no way that we were going to publish something unless the whole runway had been built first. There's too many people inside it, right? And I have found that that is, I'm going to use a word, contraindicated for creative people
Mm,
to lay out the entire runway ahead of time, because part of the fun is building the runway and seeing where it diverges and where it goes. And so I often tell people who are like, I'm too all over the map. To me, I trust it as a signal that you're not here to build a publication yet. You're here to play with voice. And readers on Substack do something really unique, which is that if you tell them who you are up front,
mm,
like I'm going to build this runway in the jungle and you get to come along for the ride, they opt into that experience, and then you build trust week over week. And that doesn't mean that it can't eventually turn into a properly branded or niched publication, but, like, there's so much about this space, this
mm,
platform, that just operates so differently from all the other ones that I've been on, that
mm,
creates permission, I think because the readers are voting, not an editor or a publisher voting.
mm,
And that readership sort of dynamic does change a sense of permission, because you're getting a little feedback
mm.
each week too. So, I don't wanna go down that rabbit trail too much, but, um, boy, I hear that and I just hear signs of life, signs of life, and, it's easier if you I call it like the gift and the curse of growing an audience is like you're now accountable to them.
Mm,
You're accountable in a different way if you've been trying to build something and you might have a book one day or you wanna do something, uh, you know, divergent in the future with your talents and your voice. Um, but yeah, I think, like, Substack is I think we'd have a whole nother conversation about Substack as a creative incubator and container because the the delay in hearing from your audience is more or less removed. You're not waiting 18 months for that book to come out into the world. You can start speaking now, which makes containers even more important. um, and so I think that like that witnessing in real time shows up in a lot of places. I'm not saying that necessarily reader feedback is the thing that should be shaping what you
sure.
write all the time. Um, I think larger publications have to they have to balance that without sort of weighing down the person's voice who's been leading it for however long. But there was just something about being witnessed, I think, in real time that it does change something. Even earlier when I read my bird piece. By the way, I opened up to that and I just laughed and I was like, "Of course I'm gonna read that. Your publication's called For the Birds. Of course I've written, a deeply personal piece all about birds."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think there's there's something that happens when we're witnessed in the creative, mm, oh, I wanna use a bird analogy and I'm gonna slap my head. The creative nest, like, you're in this nest in the space of it coming through and you don't quite know what's gonna come next.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I know that's a lot of work. I think you build closer nests with people than, like, I do, and, like, my like, daily not my
Yeah.
daily life, but, like, I tend to have, like, incubators, and then they launch. Um, um, but you do a different kind of work
Yeah.
around, like, the witnessing part of it, right?
Yes, I do. I'm just sort of, like, reflecting on this maybe for the first time in this moment. Yeah, I do, and I think, whether it's, like, these monthly workshops that I'm hosting or my, like, one-on-one mentorship, yeah, there's this work is very, like, relationship forward, and I wanna be in spaces with people where we're thinking about creativity holistically, like, where we get to care about craft and the emotional stuff and the spiritual stuff, like, all of those aspects of it. Um, I think right now, at least, those are kind of both as a mentor and a coach, as in my professional life and frankly, just in my personal life too, it's like those are the kind of intimate spaces I think I wanna be in with other people, you know? Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Can I talk about a new
Yes.
version of
Yes. Yes.
can I
Please.
be
Please.
awkward and
Please.
say, "Can I now
Yes.
talk
Can
about
I no, 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 you're fine. You're
um,
fine. No. Tell us. Tell us,
um,
tell us, tell us.
so yeah, so, like, I host these monthly workshops, right? Once a month. It's for readers at the paid tier of my Substack, and, you've helped me brainstorm and sort of, like, birth this new thing into the world. So our June workshop our May workshop is actually happening tonight at 5:15 if anybody wants to join and be in, like, a cozy, intimate space. But, our June workshop is gonna be a kind of special iteration of things that takes into account everything that you and I have been talking about here. So it's called Write and Witness. It has its own name. The plan for now is to offer this seasonally. But basically, we're going to be gathering and sharing our work with each other, not unlike what you did here today. Um, I find it really helpful sometimes to like say what a thing isn't. And so I really want to say, like, it is not an open mic. And what I mean is, like, it is not a performative space. It's not a space where you are being asked to, like, showcase your best work. It's not like, it's the opposite of those things. I want it to be a space where we get to be alive with a thing that we've made, a thing that we've written, whether it's a journal entry, a poem, an essay, maybe you don't even know what it is, but, like, being in this, like, intimate space where we get to let that creative pulse be alive and we get to let it move through us and then be witnessed by other people and then offer that witnessing to other people. So sharing our work, but in this really intentional, nurturing way that is not about, it's just not performative. It's not, it's just a different, like, energetic thing. And it's also a chance for us to, like, get that benefit of what
Mhm.
happens after you've been able to share your work in, like, a safe, emotionally attuned space, right? Um, so we're gonna be doing that in June, and I'm,
Mhm.
like, really excited for it. I'll be announcing, like, all the details and stuff next week in my
Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. I remember when we started sort of listening to the idea and listening to the concepts. And um, I think the person who is probably best supported by that space is someone who has, I keep seeing this picture of like building a runway in a jungle, like who that is actually the fun part for them and whose creative process might be happily surprised by what
Mhm,
happens when they read it out loud.
mm,
I think I think that's what I would probably say in the different contexts in which I've sort of observed people shift in how they perceive themselves, how they give their work to the world, how they submit it, how they the the using your voice to declare it changes something about what comes onto the page next. And so
yeah,
I really like that you're going to offer that, and we'll link to it in the replay.
cool.
I'm mindful that we've been talking this whole time. We've just been letting people kind of like stare in. I'm wondering, I think it would be a kindness to see if anybody has any questions about how to
Yeah,
find a good container, how to like
yeah.
before we sign off.
Yeah. Maybe while people are thinking of questions, let me just add one quick thing because I always wanna be
Oh,
mindful. I work with a lot of non-speakers, and so I do just wanna name, like, there's lots of different ways that work can be shared in this container, and if that means
mm,
bringing a designated reader to read on your behalf or asking me to read on your behalf, like, just wanting to name that just for the sake of inclusivity, wanted to make sure I said that out loud.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes. there's now I wanna interview someone about the first time they heard their work, like,
Mm.
read out loud by
Y
someone else. I would like someone to if anybody has experienced that,
yeah,
consider yourself assigned.
good seed.
I can't help it.
Planting. Yeah, so yeah, I'm also, like you, really welcoming of any questions or even just, like, shares, anything that somebody wants to share or reflect on in this space. Amanda and I are good listeners.
We are good listeners. I'm gonna scroll up and just see who all is here.
Yeah.
I won't call anybody out because I know how sometimes you have to jump, and I don't want anybody to be embarrassed in the replay if I called on you and you had to leave. It's totally okay. Um, oh, Kyra or Kira, I hope I say your name right. She says, or they say, "This was such a great conversation. Thank you both. I did my first story slam, and it looks like her brain broke a little bit." Yes, yes. Was the story slam on Substack or in person? And tell me if I said your name wrong or right.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, just noticing some kind words from Sheila as well, who said, "Thanks, this is
Oh,
awesome. Thank you. Thank you for
thanks,
that."
Sheila. Was
Yeah,
live virtual. Nice. I like that.
amazing.
A live virtual name was correct. Okay, great. Um, yeah, I know there's a there's a live reading that Nan Tepper
Mm,
hosts, and I can see the bright graphics, but my brain is blurring out the appropriate name. I don't want to say the name wrong, but she organizes. Um, I think it's monthly now. I think it's uh, she usually has a theme, something
mm,
usually patriarchal, very very spirited. Um, um, but I know that she does a lot of work to make sure that, like, the writing and the spoken word portions are kinda woven together. So there's a
mm.
little bit of, like, an entertainment aspect. There's also, like, a it's almost like slam church or something, like, you come and sit and just let people, like, read over you. I kinda love that. I love that idea.
Amazing. That's
Um
amazing. Yeah. I mean, let me just quickly say one other thing here too before we part ways. Like, I also think a lot of us, like, we want our work to be seen. We want to be read. And that's not only and always about some like drive for external validation or wanting the wrong kind of attention. Like maybe if I'm getting really caught up in like I need tens of thousands of readers, yeah, there's probably something for me to investigate there. But like beneath some of those things, there is just this like desire to be witnessed in purpose within our creative purpose. And I think also maybe like this, write and witness, this like thing I'm going to be offering next month is like a little bit of an antidote to that, like, to just be in a space where, yeah, like, we get to see and hear each other, and we get to want that, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It doesn't mean we want the wrong thing. It doesn't mean we're hitching our worth to external validation. It means we're relational, and we wanna be in create a relationship with each other.
This is a huge theme in, like, attachment theory. I'm not a doctor, but I am autistic, and I did a lot of research about childhood development and things when I was trying to figure something out, um, where they talk about, like, in those first months of a child's life, they're literally wiring what it means when they cry out, what happens. Do they hear how long do they cry? Um
Mhm,
How are they greeted when they cry or
mhm,
even laugh? And that babies learn so much in that time, and I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole, but I my one of my longstanding questions has been, okay, when did that turn into you're just wanting attention? Like, I
mm,
think there's something cellular around wanting to be heard because that's literally how we wire for safety in
yeah,
in those places. So I, uh anybody who says they want a readership, I believe them, and I believe that when you long for readership and treating people with respect, um, like, there's a ground for that that I trust in each person, so on that light and easy breezy note, I hope, some of you will join her in the Write and Witness. I think that would be really interesting. I hope you'll write about your takeaways too, because I think
Mm.
you as a witness of that, Write and Witness, see,
So
I'm giving you assignments too. I cannot stop it. Um, it is the editor in me. Like, what do you witness change in people? I think that would be it'd be really beautiful to read. As just proof of concept that, something alchemizes when you're sharing out loud in a safe space. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. I will share a replay of this. We'll share a couple links so you can find, um, your way to our publications and Sarah's work. And Sarah, it's lovely.
this was so great.
Thanks
Thanks
for being
for
with me, friend. Thanks,
thank you for
everyone else. We'll get the replay up probably in the next day or two. Something simple. Okay.
sharing.
Bye, everyone.